Welcome to the Vibrantly You podcast. We're your hosts, Megan Martineau
and Caitlin Cipriano. In this podcast, we talk about fitness and nutrition on your motherhood journey. Whether you are trying to conceive, pregnant, postpartum, or beyond, you are welcome here.
Nothing is off limits, and our goal is to support you in this important season of life so that you can feel vibrantly you. As a reminder, this information is not medical advice. Please see the show notes for more details.
Hello and welcome back to the Vibrantly You podcast. This is your co-host, Caitlin, and today I am going to be doing another solo episode that feels very timely for myself, but we are going to be talking about bloating, in particular during your luteal phase. So this is that second half of the month after you have ovulated, and this is the phase that people tend to have the most complaints about, is the second half. They're like, oh, I'm in my luteal phase. I'm feeling uncomfortable and my digestion just definitely seems to be off. And you don't have to feel this way. You can have a pretty solid luteal phase. However, if you are experiencing this, you're not imagining it, and you're definitely not alone. So we are going to discuss today, why does this happen? What is actually going on hormonally, physiologically, and most importantly, how can we support ourselves utilizing nutrition in a way that feels supportive and not restrictive? So the goal here, right, is not to eliminate every single symptom or control your body. It is to allow yourself to be able to understand, how is my body shifting? Why is it shifting? And how can I do this in a way that I feel more nourished, more comfortable, and more supported? So those are our goals here in the conversation today. So first off, again, I want to circle back around. What is the luteal phase? So your luteal phase, again, is that second half of your cycle, and it begins after ovulation and lasts until your period starts. So during this phase, our progesterone is rising. There's the metabolism increasing at that peak of progesterone increase. Our digestion also naturally slows down during this period, and the body really does start to prioritize rest and preparation for our period. And so this is, again, not like a flaw in the system. It is a design feature. However, that slower digestion, the hormonal shifts, and potentially other things that are going on externally in your life, like stress or underfueling yourself, can really easily then equate to symptoms like bloating, constipation, gas, water retention, just maybe that more heavy, uncomfortable feeling in your abdomen. And so again, some bloating here is probably going to be normal for you. However, if you are feeling like this symptom is excessive, it's uncomfortable, it's disruptive of your quality of life, we need to make some shifts so you, again, can still feel comfortable during this second half of your cycle. So we talked about why this is more common during this phase, but I want to dive a little bit deeper into those specific points that we talked about. So the progesterone increase is slowing the digestion, and progesterone, what it does in your gut is it relaxes smooth muscle. So food's going to move more slowly. That fermentation increases. So again, this is sort of equating to more gas and bloating, those symptoms that you might be experiencing. The hormonal shifts also impact our sodium and fluid balance. So you may have increased fluid retention where you're feeling more of that like puffiness or pressure. And then during our luteal phase, we also have more sensitivity to blood sugar changes. So the body is a little bit more insulin resistant. And if you, in particular, are having like longer gaps between meals, or maybe you are trying to restrict certain things like carbohydrates out of your diet, this can actually worsen some of those bloating symptoms and cravings. So there's a lot going on here, right? And then if on top of these, normal physiological changes, if your environment is more stressful, whether that be from work, just everything that's happening, these days, the higher stress is further slowing down those digestion times and potentially like increasing gut sensitivity, especially during the second half of your cycle. So if you're like skipping meals, or you're trying to eat lighter because you feel bloated, you're potentially like, again, trying to like quote unquote eat clean instead of really like eating enough and nourishing your body, this sometimes makes that bloating worse instead of better. And so unintentionally, you may be compounding, these symptoms or these issues. So I want to reframe here for a moment, because I think the mindset shift is often where we need to start. So let's try to use the bloating as information and not the problem for a moment. So try in your body saying, this is giving me feedback, and what do I need to do with it? I need steadier fuel. I need more warming and grounding foods. I need some digestion support, and I need to offer some more like TLC and care to my body during this time phase. This particular phase really asks us to slow down and look more inward, not to do more and optimize. So I want to shift to talking about these supports. The first thing, and I think one of the most impactful, are to prioritize warm and cooked foods, things that are going to be like your soups and stews, roasted vegetables, like slow cooked grains, like warm breakfasts are going to be the best during this particular phase. If you have digestion symptoms at any time, and no matter what the phase is, these are going to be essential for you throughout as well. We want to try to limit those like cold, raw, fibrous foods, because they're just going to be harder to break your body to break down and digest right now. So think warm, think comforting, and that is going to like signal more safety to the digestive system and should reduce the bloating, should reduce constipation, and just probably feel better mentally as well. We want to balance our plate. So like we talk about a lot, we want to think about, what do we pair our carbs with, right? We want to bring in protein with the carbs. They are BFFs. And then you can fill in from there with your fruits and vegetables and healthy fats. So start off with, if you're thinking about your plate of food here, like we've got our protein, we've got our carbs, healthy fats, fiber. We want to bring everyone to the party and have a well-balanced meal. And this is going to really help with satiety. It's going to help with blood sugar balance and also just like your enjoyment too. So like, don't feel like you need to restrict things like carbs, like healthy fats that are going to also make the meal more enjoyable. Okay, let's see. We want to talk about fiber in a gentle way, not in an overload way. We've been pounded and pounded with the protein in social media over the past several years, and there is starting to be a shift now into the fiber space, and both are important. However, this increase in fiber thing, I think, is going to really backfire on a lot of people because more fiber is not always the answer here. And we want to do it in a incremental way. Otherwise, you're going to end up with more issues. So we want to think of especially in this luteal phase, less huge salads, less raw veggies. We don't want to just rely on the fiber supplements. Instead, let's talk about what is one thing that you could add to your meal that's a cooked green, a roasted root veggie. Maybe we're doing some berries on a yogurt bowl, right? We're pairing the protein. Small incremental changes are going to make you much happier here. The other thing that we may need are some digestion supportive tools. Things like ginger or peppermint tea. Oh my gosh, peppermint tea is my favorite. Bitters before meals, if they're tolerated. Honestly, just slowing down when you have your meals. Can you try to remove some distractions and actually set your utensil down in between bites? Because your digestion starts in your mouth. And if you are eating super quickly and trying to eat each of your meals as fast as you possibly can, that may be the stem of some of these problems. So slowing down, potentially having smaller, more frequent meals during this phase could be another thing that's helpful for you. So the digestion, like I said, starts in the mouth. It impacts our nervous system. We need to address some of those things too, and not just the stomach. Okay. Another thing to think about here is increasing our magnesium-rich foods as we enter luteal and start our period. So magnesium is going to support bowel regularity, muscle relaxation, nervous system relaxation, and water system. And so we don't need to automatically go to supplements here, although it may be helpful for you and you can check with your healthcare provider. But good foods to include are pumpkin seeds, dark chocolate, which is another favorite of mine, leafy greens, and well-prepared cooked beans and lentils as well are great. Okay, we just talked about really great supportive things that we can do, but what are some things that we may want to try to limit and reduce during this phase? And this part for some people is going to be important. They are going to want to limit, again, like we talked about, forcing those raw foods, skipping meals, cutting carbs, trying to think that, why is my body sort of failing and comparing to that follicular first half phase energy. They just are different. And so it just means that we need to potentially be a little more intentional with what we add in and what we do, because you're not meant to feel the same every week of your cycle. And if we can understand that instead of fighting against it, it can make just such a big difference. And if, again, The bloating is severe. It's painful. It's paired with like constipation or diarrhea. You're just noticing it's like worsening and worsening. Then this is a time to really like look at what's going on, potentially pairing up with a provider, and a qualified nutritionist to really look at like what is my overall energy intake, my gut health, my stress load, my hormonal balance. Because again, support doesn't automatically mean restriction. It means, okay, I need to zoom out, slow down, and listen more closely to what my body is telling me. And so again, this luteal phase is not asking for more discipline, it's asking for more nourishment. And so you don't need to push through this or, again, fight your body. We can learn how to support it intuitively and rhythmically. If you want some deeper guidance around cycle-based nutrition and digestion, I have more tools, just like what we talked about in my cycle syncing mini course. I will link it for you in the show notes. It's a 3-module course paired along with recipes that you can utilize in each phase. And if your episode was supportive, please feel free to share this with a friend. Reach out, ask me questions in my DMs on Instagram at Wholesome Huntress Nutrition, and we will see you guys back next week.